Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Valiantys' webinar focused on Jira Work Management for All. So thank you so much for joining today. I really hope you find this webinar valuable and worthy of your time. My name is Jason Kidner, and I'm going to be your tour guide for the next hour, showing you 5 real-life use cases of Atlassian products that apply to any type of team. I am a enterprise solutions architect here at Valiantys, also a safe practice consultant and an Atlassian certified professional. And have used the tools that you're going to be seeing today in lots of different ways. So if you have any other questions around some of the things I'm showing or anything else, this is definitely a great forum to ask those. I'm also joined today by my colleague Brianna. She's going to be monitoring the Q&A area, and we'll be posting some helpful links in the chat along the way. And as I mentioned, if you do have any questions, thoughts, anything like that, please put them into the Q&A area of the Zoom call, and I'm going to do my best to answer those at the end of our time today. So our agenda today is pretty simple. I'll just have a few introductory comments around working in better ways. And then the bulk of this webinar is going to be looking at 5 different examples, use cases of using Atlassian tools and different ways those have been used for some clients that we've worked with. And hopefully they'll just give you some really interesting ideas about how you could potentially use those for yourself and your teams. And then lastly, we'll have some question time. So despite the name of this webinar, it's not just about the Atlassian product called Jira Work Management. We're going to be focusing over the next hour on an array of tools and processes that will better help you and your team work in a better way. So what does a better way to work look like? So here's just a couple of thoughts. It's making work visible. Okay? It's also having clear next steps in your processes. And you're going to see how these start to fit together. It also means making work collaborative, okay, where you can see the work, but you can also collaborate. You can give feedback, comments, help each other out. It also is using flexible tools that change as quickly as your environment changes. And lastly, it's shifting your mindset from doing more work in less time to generating more value with less work. So we're really big on value here at Valiantys, providing value to our customers, whatever that looks like. Not necessarily doing lots and lots of work that really isn't valuable, but really focusing on doing what's the most valuable thing at any given time. So you'll see this focus too as we go through these use cases. And a few thoughts on people and processes and tools. So obviously, people, processes, tools are the key ingredients to whatever type of work you and your organization or your team are doing. And I have them in this particular order here in this first bullet, because people are foundational to anything you're doing, right? To any company. It's the people. And then the processes follow on from that, right? Processes that focus on value and collaboration between people on a team and making sure they're doing the most, the most valuable thing and not a bunch of busy work that really doesn't help them or your team or your company overall. And then finally, there's the tools, right? And these are ideally going to be flexible tools that support your people and your processes, that don't hinder your people and processes. But the big call out here is, and this comes up over and over again with clients that I work with, that others work with, is as great as Atlassian tools are, they can't necessarily solve your people or your process problems, right? They can certainly help, but you might have some other underlying things that might need to be addressed that the tools ultimately can't fully help with. But there are some great tools. I want to show you those and talk about some use cases here. So we're going to turn our attention to those, but just wanted to call out, they're not necessarily going to solve everything that you're trying to, all the pain points you might have. All right, so here's our little just high-level overview of Atlassian and the tools, some of the tools we're going to look at today. So Atlassian tools are ubiquitous. They are likely already being used somewhere in your organization. We often work with business teams who are ready to purchase Atlassian products, and then to their surprise, they learn that the company already has them. Some other part of the company, maybe typically the IT or the software teams in the company, are already using Atlassian. And then from there, these business teams, they just need to know the knowledge of how to customize their tools, and either working with their own internal administrators or potentially working with a solutions partner like Valiantys to help them to know how best to use the tools and set them up. So, but if you don't have Atlassian products and you're not using them, they're very inexpensive to use. They're very simple to get started with. You can try any of these with a free 30-day trial, and they're typically pretty straightforward to set up. There's a lot of customization, so there are a lot of cool ways to use them that you might need help with, but you typically don't need to go to your VP of procurement to try to get started with the use of these tools. So overall, the tools are really designed for teams to use. They're collaborative, they're flexible, they're scalable. The various Jira products here, I've noted 3 of them: Jira Work Management, Jira Software, and Jira Service Management. These are all very designed, again, to track work, to visualize work, to collaborate on work in a lot of different ways. We're going to be looking into each of these. You're going to get a little teaser and a glimpse at the differences between these 3 tools in today's webinar. Then the 4th tool here listed is Confluence. That works really hand in hand with the Jira software. Confluence is Atlassian's wiki-style documentation tool. That's where you're creating your pages that can be nicely linked. They can even integrate and reference things from Jira, and I'll show you a few examples of that shortly. Then we have tools like Trello that people might be using even for their personal life to track the work they have to do, their to-do lists and things like that. We see a lot of clients have users that are using this off to the side along with Jira or Confluence. So, and there's other Atlassian tools. I'm going to touch on a newer one called Atlas today when we talk about project management, but there's a number of other tools out there, but these are the ones we're going to focus on today. And again, the focus of this is that you can use these tools as any type of team to help with your work management. So now we get to the heart of the webinar, which are 5 different practical examples that we've built for our clients. So we're going to look at task management, project management, a hiring and onboarding workflow process, service desks, and then lastly, just documentation and the centralization of information. And each of these, as you'll see, will have a pattern of how we're going to walk through it. So first is task management. So who is the audience for this? Well, it's really everyone doing work, right? The problems that we typically see with clients and teams is, these are some of the questions that come up, like, what do we have to do? Is everything up to date? And who's taking care of that particular task on a team? So making sure everyone knows who's got what, when things are, just the status updates and things like that. So the solution, again, at a very high level, is central task management with multiple views. Again, trying to get away from spreadsheets that might be just owned by somebody and on their local desktop to something that's more, out there for anyone to see real-time updates and to collaborate on. And there's the tool we're going to show today here. This is where we're going to talk about Jira Work Management, but you could also certainly use the other, like Jira Software, for this as well. So actually, let's go back here. So now we're going to jump into an instance of Jira. By the way, what I'm going to focus on today, this is all the cloud products. So typically in our webinars, we demo using the Atlassian's cloud products. They also have data center or that could be on-prem, but we're going to really focus, everything here is going to be the cloud view of the products. So So I'm in an instance here, one of our demo instances of Jira that has those different Jira products. So first off, I'm going to talk about the Jira Work Management product, which you see here noted as a company managed business product. And so Jira Work Management it's one of those 3 Jira products. It can be set up, you can set up a whole instance of Jira with just Jira Work Management license. It's a little cheaper than Jira Software or Jira Service Management. So you can just have that, an instance of just that. But note too that Jira Work Management products or projects here, they also come with Jira Software. So if you have Jira Software licenses, you can also create these these business projects, these Jira Work Management projects. So, and they have a little different look and feel, as you'll see here. So here's our demo project for accounting. And when you first come in, you can note that there's a summary page, kind of like just an out-of-the-box dashboard, high-level dashboard that comes with these business or Jira Work Management projects that note activity and some different breakdowns of the issues in here by status and priority, and even workload, who's assigned to the different tasks. So that comes out of the box. Then there's a number of other visualizations of the work that is in this project. And when I say project as well, within Jira, a project denotes a container of work items. And those work items, you'll hear me call those work items called issues. Okay. Sometimes they're called tickets when we're dealing with Jira Service Management, but just wanted to be clear on some of the terminology. There's a board view of the work in this project. And so this is based off of the workflow within the project. And we'll talk a lot more about workflows in another example, another use case, but workflows is where you have these different statuses that your work items in Jira are going through from start to finish. So this board represents a workflow where issues would start in to do, go to in progress, then go to feedback, then go to approval, and then finally to a done status. So each of these columns represents a different status. And so you can see exactly where each of these issues are. This blue icon with a checkbox, this is a task. That's the main type of issue within this project. And so we see all these tasks, and I can move along the tasks, along the workflow on a board very nicely by just dragging and dropping it into the appropriate column. So this is a really great way to see very quickly where everything is at and to even move tasks along the workflow. So that's one view. There's also a list view. This is very unique amongst all the projects. You don't see views quite like this. So this is really, as you can see, it's a grid. It's like a spreadsheet. So imagine this could help those teams within your organization get out of their spreadsheets, bring their issues into Jira Work Management. They could see them listed here on the board or in this list view where you can make real-time updates in line, which is great. You can add other columns in here as needed and see your issues. You can even do some bulk editing as well. So this is a grid view of the data, and your issues can have lots of different fields. You can create custom fields in here and really customize this exactly how you need it. There's also a calendar view. This is, again, is another unique feature of Jira Work Management projects where you see this calendar. If you fill out the start and due date fields within these issues, then you'll see those issues appear on the calendar, and you can see which ones are in good shape and the ones that are red are past due. So you can have this particular view that could be valuable for your team. There's also a timeline view. Again, all these tabs come out of the box here with a Jira Work Management project. So the timeline view, again, uses those date fields, shows them in this more of like a Gantt chart type of view to see for planning purposes. So you have that. A couple of other things here within this project. There's a Forms tab. This just notes different ways where you can essentially create a create screen that you can share with other users within your Jira instance, kind of like for intake, if you want other teams to be able to potentially create tasks within your project, you can create some unique forms that can be shared. And this is just a little bit different look and feel than the typical create button that Jira offers, where you can create issues within a project, and you can see all the different fields listed here. So the form is going to take these fields and just give you a little different look and feel for intake. There's also some pretty tight integration with Confluence. And so this will show different pages that are set up over in Confluence that might relate to this particular project. And then I'm going to skip over some of these other ones just for time's sake, but there's a lot of other things you can customize on a project by project basis here within Jira Work Management. So, but again, just wanted to highlight, this is one way to bring in your tasks, to manage those, to help people see them. One thing to note, if you click on one of these tasks, you also can see very quickly what's called the Jira view screen. And this shows a lot of different things you can do with a given issue. Add attachments, potentially create subtasks, put links in here. There's commenting features. You can see an audit log under history. You can, if you so choose, you can log time. Within Jira, there's an out-of-the-box time tracking option within Jira. And then you can see all the fields that can be set up and potentially edit them in line. So we'll see this screen later on. Okay, so that's our just high-level task management use case, showing you how to use Jira Work Management potentially for that. The next use case is project management. So this is for PMO teams, HR teams, marketing teams, really any type of team who manages projects, which is probably most types of teams. And so let's talk about some problems that come up with project management. So when managing projects, multiple projects, it's often difficult to keep track of the work that many teams are collaborating on, when there might be various handoffs within from team to team, or potentially even handoffs within the members of a single team. So this just brings up, alignment is a big pain point. So, and alignment usually can typically come in the form of standing meetings or manual status reports, things that are just a little clunky, that don't really lend to good asynchronous, just real-time updates, that constantly there's meetings you have to attend, or just busy work that you have to do, versus just being able for everyone to see very quickly status updates and changes. Additionally, we see clients where they're tracking work in Excel or Google Docs or PowerPoint, things like that. And it can sometimes make collaboration and visibility difficult when a lot of this is just manually updated someplace and people aren't necessarily sure what's the latest and greatest view of the work and the project. So the solution at a high level is to make the project work more visible, and it's easily modified as the team and environment requires. So, and then also to talk about ways to automate the reporting to cut down on those standing meetings. So we work with teams all the time that just meet all day. Their time's just filled up with meetings where they can't really get real work done that provides value, and ultimately to try to deliver on what their team is supposed to deliver on. So the solution within the tools, we're going to look at using Jira software and Confluence. Again, you could use Jira Work Management for this to track the work within those projects. In our case, I'm going to look at Jira software and then show how that work in Jira software can be visualized nicely in Confluence. So I'm going back into our Jira Cloud instance. And this time I'm going to be showing you a Jira software project. It's called the Marketing Project Management Project. So again, this is a software project. You see right off the right here in the landing page is a Kanban board within a software project. These boards can be created. There's Scrum boards, there's Kanban boards. You typically land in a board if there's one within a project. So you'll notice, again, look and feel is very different from a Jira Work Management project. this board is similar, where you have a column that denotes the different statuses that the tasks are in, or the issue types are in within the project. And then, but there's a lot of other things here on this left-hand menu of different things you can see within a software project. And I'm not going to go in depth here, just kind of giving you a quick tour of this project. But I want to focus on here that this project is meant to represent projects and the work in those projects. And so what we've done here is the projects here are represented by what's called an epic. This is that lightning bolt, that purple icon here. This denotes a project. And epics have a unique place within Jira, where there's this 3-level hierarchy, work hierarchy in Jira that comes out of the box. And the top level is that epic level. And underneath those epics, you can create what are called standard issue types. In this case, the standard issue type in this project is a task that this icon that we saw earlier in the work management project. So an epic is going to have children tasks. So those tasks are the things, the work that's meant to roll up and help deliver on an epic, which again, in this case, is a project. So that's kind of the work hierarchy we're going to see here. So when I open up one of these projects, or one of these epics, I should say, it's the marketing project, or alpha. And we'll see this marketing project has a few different projects out there. So, and this particular issue, again, it's an epic. It has some customized field here, like background, business objectives, scope, also things like the stakeholders, the sponsor, the target start and end dates, things that would be typical of helping to, the intake of a project, and should we work on this project? Who is asking for this project to be worked on? And other key pieces of information. Jira is really great, as you can see, with giving a lot of good finite pieces of information. I mean, it's really a glorified database, and you can see how this is being used, particularly for project tracking. So we have these pieces of information for the project, and as we scroll down, we can see there are child issues, and there's a number of them, and these are all represented by tasks, and those tasks are linked up to this epic, and we can see different ones. There's tasks 1 through 5. There's one called a milestone task. We'll see how that's shown over in Confluence in a special way. So, and each of these tasks, you can see very quickly what's their status, workflow status, where are they at, who's assigned to those. You can see all that very nicely within the view screen of a particular epic here. So this is, again, where work is being managed and tracked within Jira. And it's really meant to be the source of truth for a lot of great information, especially the statuses and some of this other finite information around a given project. And then the tasks have their own screens with their own fields. So this is how it's represented over here within Jira. And this is great. And then I want to show you that some of your users may not necessarily care to go into Jira to see this particular, but they want to see, they're the stakeholders. They want to see the latest updates on Project Alpha, let's say. So that's where Confluence could be another option for visualization. So I'm going to go over here to this next tab, and now I'm in the Confluence Cloud instance that's integrated with our Jira instance. And you'll see some of those tight integrations here. Confluence is broken up into what are called spaces, similar to how Jira is broken up into projects. And within these spaces, you have what are called pages. And those pages can have parent pages. So you have this whole hierarchy of pages. That's how the documentation is organized within Confluence. So over here, we've built out a couple of pages that specifically focus on each of the projects that this marketing team is working on. So right here, I'm showing the Project Alpha page. And so this particular page is built out with a couple of cool features of Confluence. So first off, we'll come down here and we'll see that there's a calendar. This is a calendar that's built into Confluence Premium or Enterprise that users can bring in their events, and you can even track some Jira work over here. So that's showing people's vacation time and things like that, and meetings coming up. We also note that we've brought in that one epic that I was showing you earlier in Jira. It was the marketing-1 epic, and you can see some information around that. So that's being brought in here. Again, any updates that happen over in Jira for this epic are going to be reflected here. When we scroll down, we see a table. Tables are really great ways to format your information in a Confluence page. I use those quite a bit when I'm creating Confluence pages. And here we're seeing that there's a way where you can update and add in information specific to Confluence alone. So you can add in statuses for different statuses that might not be available within Jira. There might not be a field in the Jira issue that you're trying to bring in here. But what you can do is you can highlight those and put in a lot of cool information. That's where Confluence becomes the source of truth. And I'll show you how that can be shown in a cool way later. And then there's other ways where here's project details. These particular points of information are actually coming over from Jira. So these are referencing different fields from a particular Jira issue, or it could be from multiple issues out here. So those can be referenced from Jira. And as I scroll down even further, we have a couple of different tables here, or what they're called macros within Confluence. And this is a Jira macro that, again, is bringing in a certain filtered subset of issues from Jira. In this case, it's showing the current work that's going to be underneath that project alpha epic. So this is showing current work being done. There's a pie chart visualization here, macro, to show kind of the different types of work and the statuses of those. There's a completed work macro, again, a little different filter showing the completed tasks. There's the milestone area here. This is focused on the milestone tasks within that epic. And then as I scroll down, I can see other information around this particular epic. And if I keep scrolling down, there's other things here. You can put attachments onto Confluence pages. So, and you can put labels, other things, comments can happen in Confluence. It's really, really cool feature, especially when you're working in Jira, to bring in the Jira information in specific ways. So this is, again, this page is really meant to represent a quick way for stakeholders to see what's happening in this project, how's it going, what's the overall status for different parts of the project, and then how's the work kind of moving along. And then notice there's this marketing team is working on 5 different projects right now. So we've also highlighted that you can create a parent page, if you will, called a project dashboard. I'm not going to go into the nuances of this. We do have a Confluence bootcamp, a Confluence webinar. You can learn a little bit more about Confluence with those. But notice how this is bringing in information from each of the sub-children pages, where you get this nice dashboard of how all the different projects are doing. Very quickly see if anything's off track. And you can find out different data points. And again, a lot of this is coming from Jira itself. So if there's updates made in Jira, that's going to be reflected real time within Confluence. So just some ideas, things we've built out for other clients that we find that they've found helpful. Maybe you will find it helpful as well. Okay, so we're going to keep moving along and just take a quick commercial break to talk a little bit more about Valiantys. So we are an Atlassian Platinum Solution Partner. We are really one of the only global partners out there. That's especially since we just recently acquired another solution partner in Australia called Glintech. So we've got North America, Europe, now APAC covered. So we are truly a global Atlassian solution partner. So yeah, we are anywhere in the world, many different languages that are supported. We also support any product within the Atlassian ecosystem. We are an Atlassian first company, really focused on Atlassian. But so whether that means deploying, customizing, doing licensing, you name it, doing integrations potentially with an Atlassian product with other products out there. We see this all the time. Integrations with ServiceNow or with other, Workday, you name it. We have a great custom development team in-house too. So whatever needs you have, we can certainly help you with those. And we also, provide support and professional services licensing for any platform, cloud, private cloud, data center, you name it. We are specialized. Let me see if this kind of focuses. Yeah, we have specializations across the different Atlassian specializations, cloud migrations, enterprise agility, ITSM, or I guess it's now more focused on ETSM, enterprise level work. So, and yeah, we're just very much very acclaimed partner, and we would love to potentially work with you if you need help with anything Atlassian related. So I'll just leave it at that, and end of our commercial break. We're going to get back to our last 3 use cases. So the next one is, we're calling it hiring and onboarding. So who is this for? Well, potentially typically an HR team, but it's really any team that is onboarding users, onboarding employees, what have you, to help to make sure that they're going from the starting point of potentially being hired or coming into the funnel of learning something that needs to be done to the end where they are, everyone agrees this person is ready to go, and they meet all the qualifications, that sort of thing. So the particular problem that this use case was meant to deal with was there was an insurance company that we were working with, and they had to hire thousands and thousands of people each year to help with, particularly to be agents, different types of agents. You'll see we have a tier 1 and a tier 2 use case here. So, but they were hiring lots of people, trying to coordinate all those onboarding tasks across multiple teams. They knew that when users came in and were in one status, that needed to trigger some work to be done by another team somewhere else, or to update some other sort of platform like an HIRS platform. And so syncing with external systems, and all of this needed to ultimately meet the insurance industry compliance. And this particular organization was just stuck in spreadsheets, which was making collaboration, handoffs, visibility really, really difficult. So the solution at a high level was a tailored workflow, to use Jira software with a tailored workflow and a lot of automation, which I'm not going to go into the deep dive of that, but workflow with lots of automations and boards to help with clear visibility. And so you're going to just see some of that I'm going to demo here next. And again, the solution was built using Jira software. Jira Service Management could also potentially be used as an intake with a workflow along with it, but I'm going to demo here how we did this with Jira software. Oops. Go back and let's switch over to another project here within our Jira instance. This is the Onboarding Project. So here we land in a board. This is the tier 1 onboarding board. And so this board, again, is meant to represent the different statuses of the onboarding workflow, this very tailored workflow. And each of the cards here represents an issue type. And in this case, the issue type are people. And so you can see the names, that's the summary. This in particular, these are all tier 1 issue types. It has that 1 logo. And as I click on one of these cards for Florence, we see a little bit of information about them, and not a lot's filled out here. Really, the focus of this particular setup is around the workflow. So in this case, Florence is in the training status, but as I click on the training status, notice I could do some workflow transitions here, moving them to scheduled or peer mentoring or terminated. And I can also view the workflow, and that's what I really want to focus on. So here you see a workflow, and these workflows are used in Jira software. They're also used in Jira work management projects or Jira service management. Issues in Jira have to have a workflow. It's just part of how Jira is all built out. So this particular workflow has what are called statuses. Those are these lozenges or pills that are within the workflow. And then those lines you see between the different statuses are what are called transitions. So that's what makes up these Jira workflows. So you can see here that the workflow starts with recruited. That's the initial status that one of these people would be in. And then they would potentially go to scheduled, then to training, then to peer mentoring, and then lastly, good to go. If they kind of go through it all and everyone agrees, hey, they're ready to go. They're ready to do that tier 1 agent work. But you can also see there's other paths that these people could take through the onboarding process. They might potentially withdraw, maybe be a no-show. They eventually, at some point along the way, may end up being terminated. So they're no longer an employee anymore. So that's a possibility. You can also see up here there's a special action workflow transition it looks like it's called request termination. So this could be leveraged at any particular point in the workflow. And what these types of transitions are good for is to trigger automation or some sort of post function, or some sort of update to an external system or an update somewhere else within Jira, or to potentially just provide some other permissioning around some action that needs to take place within Jira. But the idea here is that Jira workflows, especially the transitions, they do a lot of work for you, or you can really leverage a lot of automations, a lot of cool things in the background that can help do updates to, you name it. There's so many different opportunities and possibilities within Jira for automation, where it can do a lot of work for you. In this case, this particular workflow was meant to help to potentially create tasks for another team when a particular user reaches such and such status. Maybe there's a task for scheduling them for training, or setting them up with a computer to be used, or a phone, or whatever that might look like. So lots of cool opportunities within this. So that's the tier 1 workflow. Then we also, just to quickly show you, within a given project, you can have different issue types, and those issue types can have their own workflow, separate workflow. So within this particular project, we also wanted to cover the onboarding of tier 2 agents. So you notice here, this board shows that the tier 2 onboarding process has a number of other steps in it. And if I click on one of these people, to try to get their view, I can go into this workflow, and I already know it's going to have more statuses based on the board that I showed you. And sure enough, this is a little bit more involved workflow. Again, these can be very, very customized, uniquely for each particular issue or work item in a project. So this one's a little bit longer because tier 2 agents would need to be more qualified, more experienced, have some more training, maybe some more experience. And they can be recruited potentially internally. They could be recruited, from outside of the company, and they would go through this process of being scheduled. Then for testing, go through testing, make sure they pass the tests. Then they're certified. There's advanced training. Potentially they bypass advanced training. Notice there's a couple different paths, some forks in the workflow, depending on each particular use case. Then peer mentoring, and then good to go. And then there's also the withdraw, the no-show, the terminated possibilities. So a lot of cool options here. Again, within any particular one of these transitions, there could be automation, there could be maybe some validation where they can't go into the next status until such and such field is filled out, or some approval is done. Again, lots of great opportunities that we could certainly help you build out these using some best practices, and just help you think creatively about how to build out a tailored workflow that you might need for, in this case, onboarding. But again, you can do these workflows for any type of work, any type of use cases really within Jira. Okay, so we have 2 more to go, 2 more use cases. We're going to switch off to our 4th one. This one is service desks. All right, so who is this meant to the audience for? Well, could be for any type of team, really. HR, marketing, facilities, legal, any type of team potentially could be considered a service team, like you're handling requests from within the company or from outside the company, you name it. But there's lots of ways, right? There's lots of different channels that teams can receive information or receive things that they're being asked to do and to help with. So the problem typically is there's, again, many teams within a company. There's, that are handling different requests. There might be lots of different types of channels for the intake, right? It could be emails to somebody on that team. The supervisor, the team lead comes along and asks somebody to do something. There could be a doorway conversation if you're back in person, phone conversation, you name it. There's lots of different channels, lots of different things this team's being asked to do. Not sure exactly, where it's being visualized, where it's being tracked. There's no clear prioritization on, what each team member is supposed to do next. And then, who can see, what work each team member is doing, things like that. So, so despite your best efforts, the services that you're providing, again, might not be very visible to the customer, whether that's internal or external. So they're always bothering you, like, hey, what's going on with that thing I asked you for help with? That's really high priority. I need it now. So they're constantly, checking in with you via, many other different types of channels. So the solution at a high level is a service desk that provides a clean intake form that helps to keep the requesters automatically up to date with what the status is of their request, for them to easily ask questions or with the agent who's taking that service request. And then the service desk has this back end where there's a queue of the work and how it's coming in that can be prioritized, that can be easily assigned or automated for the assigning of that. And there could be SLAs involved that both the agent or the team member knows and the front end user knows. These are the SLAs. This is our commitment to you. So the solution at a high level is going to use tools, in this particular case, Jira Service Management. And Confluence can be tightly integrated to service management, which I'll show you some of what that looks like. So again, this is going to be a very kind of quick look at what Jira Service Management looks like. We do have a whole two different webinars to look at different use cases, because there's so many different opportunities and different ways that service management could potentially be used for different types of teams. So we're going to go back into Jira. And actually, before I show you this, I'm going to show over here what a Jira Service Management portal looks like. So this is one that comes with Jira Service Management. Like, you don't get this with Jira Software, you don't get this with Jira Work Management. This portal, this kind of outside portal, different website view, comes with Service Management. So this particular one, again, this is going to be high level for your whole Jira site. And notice users could come in here, they could search, and this search is looking ultimately up at Confluence pages. So Confluence can be tied in with Service Management, where it's going to Service Management portal is going to go out and it's going to look through Confluence pages to find if there's any pages that are, we would consider those articles, any articles that could help with some knowledge base, with some helps for the users that they're looking for. So you have some self-help here. Then we come down to the feature portals. Here we see there's a HR service desk, a facilities service desk. There's a couple more we could open up here: ideation, ITSM, other types of portals. Each one of these portals on the back end is represented by a different Jira Service Management project. Okay, that's how you see each one of these showing up differently. So in this case, I want to look at an HR service desk. So I click on this, and this takes me into that particular service desk portal for the HR service desk project. And you can see here, these are very customizable. In this case, this portal has 6 different request types. Again, these are totally customizable. And each one of these can have its own unique workflow, its front-end form for intake. So if I come in here, let's say for, let's look at employee onboarding to start. So when I scroll down, I can see this particular form has a lot of different fields to fill out. You can see which ones are required. These are all, again, referencing different fields within the Jira database. And these are just, this form is a screen that's curated specially for this particular request type. And again, lots of cool ways to show this and to visualize it. So this is one particular thing where a new employee is being onboarded. Okay, so that's one. If I go back to the service desk, I'll just use a more simple form here down at the questions for HR. So again, this is a much more simple form. This, again, I'm an agent as well, so I see this in a little different way where I could even potentially put in a request for someone else. But if you're just a typical customer, you're not really going to see this. It's going to automatically have you, the user, as the person submitting this. And then you're putting in what's your general question or request. So I could put in something like, gee, let me do, how can I change my name? And notice as I start to type in this, there's some changes happening here underneath this suggested articles area. This is, again, where service management is going out, looking at all sorts of Confluence pages and seeing if it can suggest an article that matches something of what I'm typing in here. Again, the whole idea of this is to help deflect the need for a service ticket to be, that's going to take up an agent's time, and to try to reduce the amount of tickets that come into the system. So we see clients really trying to fine tune their help desk articles out here for both the customers and also for the back-end agents to have some great articles that they can leverage. So I'm typing that in, and then I need to change my name. Okay, so I'm putting in these required fields, and then I'm sending this off to that HR service desk team. And notice when I create this, I now see, I have my customer hat on here, whether it's internal or external, it would be something similar to this. And so I can see the request that I've entered. I would call this a ticket here within the service desk project. I can see the status that it's in. I could potentially share this with other people, so they also get notified on changes. I, as the customer, can add comments. So this gets back to, like, you know, how can me as a customer asking for help from HR, how can I see updates here? Well, as updates are being made, the agent or the service, the HR person can type in comments, and those comments are going to show up here in the activity on this ticket. So I can be updated very quickly and very easily from the HR team. And I can also ask other questions, like I can share other details that the agent might want from me. And I can also just check in and say, how's it going? So all that can be done back and forth, a conversation through this portal. So everything's nicely reflected here. The history is all here. So it's a really nice way to just have this one channel for these requests. And then I can see all the requests that I have out here. I might have multiple ones. I can see exactly what the status is, when they were done. Each of these, you know, again, has a different work item or ticket within Jira Service Management. And then when I click on this up here, I'm going to be actually taken now into the back end here. Now I have my agent hat on because I'm one of the agents, let's say, in the service desk project, in this HR service desk. And so here's where I see what the back end looks like. And this is, again, what the view screen looks like for a service desk ticket. It's got a lot more things going on, little differences than we saw in software or Jira Work Management. And so some real notable things, again, are the ability for the agent to put a comment in for just internal use for their other teammates, or they could use a comment to reply back to the customer. So there's that. They can see SLAs, other fields that were filled in from the intake form, knowledge-based articles they could reference. And then over here, I want to highlight in this left-hand side, over here, there are what are called queues. And then this is where you can see kind of all the work assigned to you. As a given user, you could see all the open tickets that are open and unassigned. So you could potentially get the latest one that came in, or maybe there's some auto assigning that takes place. But this basically gives you a sense of how are we doing? What all do we still have to work on? What's not finished yet? So this is like a filtered view on all the tickets that are coming in. And you can create multiple queues with different filter options here. All right, so that's, again, a very high level view into Jira Service Management. Again, this could be used for any type of team out there. All right, so I'm mindful of our time. We're wrapping up here. So our final use case here is just the idea of centralized knowledge. Who is this for? It's really for everyone. All types of teams, right, have knowledge that's growing over time, internal knowledge or knowledge that they want to share with other teams within the company. And this is a big problem for everybody. Where am I storing the information? And it doesn't necessarily have to be stored in one place, right? Some companies, have SharePoint or Google Docs. In this case, I'm going to show how Confluence could even be used for sharing information and storing information. But the idea is to get really outside of people's own desktop, right? A lot of information is stored out in the cloud, but it's kind of hard maybe to find where that information is. How do I point people in the right direction if your company uses multiple tools? And is that information even up to date? So again, the high-level solution is a central organized portal of knowledge. And in this case, I'm going to show you how Confluence could be a tool of choice for your centralized knowledge base. So again, back into our Confluence area. In this case, I'm going to highlight again this marketing space and how this space could be, again, this great knowledge base, knowledge portal for anything related to the marketing team. So when I come up to the top of this, this page, actually, let me just come right into the landing page for marketing. This is the marketing homepage. So I can see some stuff here around the different pages within this space, recently updated pages. So lots of opportunities for different macros that you can use within Confluence. When I come to the team homepage, this is where Confluence really starts to shine, where this team can say what they're about. Again, this whole space could be opened up for the whole company to come in and see more about the marketing team. They could have their latest updates on the pages, who updated it, when it was last updated. These are, again, links to other Confluence pages. But here we have a section about where to find us. And this talks about their email. This has a link to their email, phone numbers. These are, again, links to outside. This is, hey, we're at xpm.com. Here's our LinkedIn link. Here's our link to our YouTube channel. Again, these do not exist in Confluence. They're links to outside tools. But this particular page becomes really like a signpost to show where you can find other information. And it might live somewhere else on the internet. So that's showing there. There's a way to show you your team members and how to reach out to them. Again, there's that calendar feature in here that's kind of nice to see when people are off or what's happening with that team. Again, frequently used resources here. These are things the marketing team's working on that other teams might need to reach out to and get. And so some of these might be other Confluence pages. In this case, it looks like a lot of these links are pointing out to Google Drive and to a doc or a spreadsheet out in Google. So again, Confluence doesn't have to be your only source of information where all your information is stored. They could be stored elsewhere. But Confluence is great at, again, pointing to come to this one place and to be directed to exactly where you need to go. So that's the team page. When I scroll down, I'll skip over these project pages. We looked at those earlier. There's a way for meeting notes, all sorts of different templates, template pages within Confluence. I use meeting notes in Confluence quite a bit when working with clients I'm on, and you can format those how you want them. But I want to highlight here at the end, there's just these final 3 pages to highlight that you can have integrations and what are called smart links to other cloud products. So, and those can show inline. So this particular one is highlighting that, hey, we have a new product plan out there. We're not building the product plan and trying to, do it all within this Confluence page. We're working on that plan over in Miro. So I bring in that Miro link into Confluence and it automatically will show here. And so you could potentially, with your permission, you can make changes in line, but at least this shows you how other users can come in here and see the work you're doing. If changes are made in Miro, those changes would show up here. So that's one example of that. Another example is this trade show page. And this highlights that if your team might be using the Trello, you can bring in a Trello board in line within Confluence. And again, if you're logged in with Trello, if you actually have access to this particular Trello board, you could make updates in line to this Trello board. So notice I don't have to log into Trello, or I don't have to be in Trello. I can make some updates here, and every other teammate can come in here and collaborate with me and can see real-time updates. Finally, there's a page here. Make a note here. There we go. This is, again, just highlighting, again, that there's these great smart link integrations to other apps, other platforms. In this case, there's a Google Sheet and a Google Doc link brought into this page. And the user that I'm logged into within Confluence also has access to the Google Drive that these are stored in. So I'm able to see these. I'm able to even edit them in line. So again, a lot of cool integrations between Confluence and other platforms. And again, a great place for Confluence to be your one-stop place to come to for information and linking out to wherever that information might live. So hopefully that gives you some ideas of how Confluence could be used for that centralized knowledge. All right, we've covered a lot of ground. We have a couple minutes here at the end for questions. So I'm just going to check here the question area. Bear with me. Hopefully I answered that first one for one of you who came on about, is this going to be recorded? Yes, this will be recorded. It will be shared if you registered for this webinar, which you would have to be in this Zoom call. This will be recorded. It will be shared via, I think, an email, Brianna, right? I think. And then it's also going to be posted out on our Valiantys YouTube channel as well. All our webinars are recorded and put out there. And there's a lot of other great videos on our YouTube channel that I believe Brianna has shared a link with you. So let's see, we have another question here. Can forms be sent to folks who do not have Jira accounts, stakeholders, other people, things like that? So yeah, I guess that goes back to the Jira work management. As far as I know, the forms, I might need to look into this one a little bit. My first answer is that it's really meant for those other users within Jira. It's a little different. Jira Work Management is different than Jira Service Management, where it's really meant to be focused on the people that are already in your Jira instance to get their input, where they're logged into Jira and they're using that form that's shared to create work items in there. If you need to work, I would say if you need to have intake that's for your team that's meant for people that aren't in Jira, then Jira Service Management would be the better way to go. Because with Jira Service Management, your licensing is is all around the agents. So it's the number of agents, those people on the back end who are processing the tickets. You don't pay for your customers. You don't pay licensing for your customers. And your customers, again, do not need to be, they're not licensed. So, but they will ultimately have an Atlassian cloud account, if you will, but whether they're external or internal to your company, they will not take up a license. You will not have to pay for them. So I would say Jira Service Management would be the better place to have an intake process for people that don't necessarily have to be like in the Jira backend. And like I showed earlier, let me share it again. They'll still have the ability to see that front end portal. So, and I know we're almost out of time here, but I guess, yeah, long answer short, I would say Jira Service Management would probably be better if users are not in Jira for your intake. All right, well, we are at 12 noon here, Central USA time. Thank you so much for attending. Again, hopefully this was really helpful for you. Started to give you some ideas on use cases. And I will just say, again, you can reach out. You've come to the Valiantys website to register for this. You can reach out to us through the website. You can also connect with me. Here's my email, jason.kidner@valiantys.com, and a LinkedIn QR code as well. And would love to help answer any other questions or potentially get on a call to talk about ways we could potentially help you. So again, thank you for coming. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.